I'm in Georgia. Yeah, just so you know, I'm in Georgia right now. So if you hear any dogs or kids in the background, they're not mine. They're my daughters. So
I
we
love the tongue and groove that you got behind you. That's a
Oh,
really cool
yes.
room.
Yes, I created that. So no, this was here. So we're in a log cabin in the Georgia mountains. Robin Rawl. Oh, awesome, Robin. Great. Thank you for joining us. Okay, good. So I'm just gonna say one last time. If you haven't had a chance to let us know where you're calling in from, please type your name into the chat and where you're calling from. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of background about myself, and then I'm going to pass it along to John Stroud, who's our guest panelist, so guest presenter. So I'm Thomas Heath. I'm a member of the Harbor Club. I'm also a Charleston-based business coach, as well as a life coach. That's actually my certification. How I help the world is through starting or growing businesses. A lot around branding and messaging. So a lot of people know me as the LinkedIn guy. I love doing stuff like this. I moderate and I do speaking as part of how I make my living. And what I love most is educating and bringing value to people. And what's really excited about this, especially with this crazy COVID stuff going on, is that a lot of us, especially if we're in business development or for any type of sales or marketing, aren't able to do that in person as much or at all. And that has really pushed along the emergence of Zoom and video creations. And a lot of folks will avoid doing videos because they are scared of them. And believe me, I've been one of them. I get that. And I've watched John, who knew not too much that I'm aware of. John, did you know much like 6 months ago, whenever, before you started creating?
No, yeah, maybe a little bit longer back, but no, it was just,
Yeah.
I jumped into it both feet.
Yeah, and he jumped into it, and I think what you're going to learn, if nothing else, is you can do that too. So without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. John Stroud, and I'll add some color commentary here and there. John?
Nice, thank you. I do appreciate being asked to do this. Video has been a very big deal for me, and it's going to be getting even better as well. I've really been putting some things together behind the scenes that will make it an even better thing. But today, I think we're more going to talk about really how to get started, how to overcome some of those fears of getting in front of the camera and those kind of things to help you get started. And then we can also talk offline if you ever want to have coffee after this whole COVID thing is over. I'm more than happy to have coffee with you or a Zoom conference to get into the nitty gritty. So about me, oh, cool. I didn't look at the PowerPoint as far as how it progresses. So
yes,
but I'm a husband of 29 years to Wendy Stroud. We just celebrated 29. We have two girls, Hannah 27 and Abby 21. As everybody probably knows, if you know me, I'm a huge dog lover. If I'm watching a movie where the dog dies, I stop watching the movie. Like, I'll walk out of the theater. I love dogs too much. So I'm very into music as well. Play a little guitar, mostly drums, and have been dabbling in making craft beer. We love to indulge in a few craft beers occasionally.
John, hold on a second. I didn't know you were making craft beer. I'm learning something new about you. Well, maybe well, maybe not a business breakfast series, but maybe a business happy hour. You can bring some of that to us.
Absolutely. I've got some wheat beer in the refrigerator right now. So absolutely. Would love to bring you some. It's not as good as some of the beers I've had in the past, but it's not bad. So, but so before we get started, we're going to talk about some tips to create videos that drive sales. I pulled some statistics, and I'm glad to share this link where I got this. I really wanted to know what were the most updated statistics, and they have some for 2020. And I'll throw these out real quick. 87% of marketing professionals are using video now. And 88% of them are satisfied with the ROI that it is bringing them. Video marketers get 66% more qualified leads per year. And to me, that was huge. I thought, doing video and I can get more leads from that, that is incredible. The average user spends 88% more time on a website that has video. And internet users are spending now the last statistic they had was 2019, that the average internet user spends almost 7 hours per week watching videos online. I told Thomas, I said the other night, I literally got sucked into the videos and I started watching, and all of a sudden it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I thought, oh gosh, I got to get to sleep here.
Yeah, the video.
They predicted
the video vortex.
Yeah, is that a video vortex? That's
and
right.
John, can I add one more? And this is something that was very eye-opening for me. Home pages on your website homepage, if you have a video on your website homepage that is housed on YouTube, in other words, it's a YouTube hosted video, your SEO rates will increase by 50%. Why? Because guess who owns YouTube? Google. So definitely, if nothing else, maybe create a 1 or 2 minute video on your website that's hosted by YouTube, because it will increase your SEO. And John's going to get a little bit further into some SEO thoughts. I think that's part of tip 5. John?
Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, they predict in 2022 that 82% of the global internet traffic will come from video streaming and downloads. You know, and obviously some of that, a good bit of that is probably movies through the Netflix and that kind of stuff. But don't we all want to be a part of the video revolution that's going on? So I think really that it comes down to the first thing. Most people, when we talk about video and people say, I desire to get into video. What do I get started with? And I think that overwhelmingly they think that they have to buy a bunch of expensive items and all that. And I got to tell you, I don't use anything expensive at all. The main thing that I use is my iPhone. I do have the one with the updated cameras. This is an iPhone 11, but yet you don't have to have the top of the line, those kind of things. I always say, just get started. The picture you're looking at right there, that's actually from Walmart, and that set is what I have. That's the lights that I have on right now. Those lights were, I think, $52 and some tax. So it's not, you don't have to go to the top of the line. You can add those things later. I did just purchase a ring to use when I'm not it's got a USB power supply. So I do have that. So when I'm not at my house with my main lights, I can use that when I'm out. So those kind of things. And that was, I think, $17 on a website that I found. So
and that's a ring light, actually. Ring light. So John, is it possible that as a follow-up that you could put together a list of the links for this equipment so that folks can get to it easily? Okay, so we'll work on that. We'll get that out to y'all. And again, please, we're very open to questions as you go along. That's what's really going to create the value here.
Absolutely. So we talked about, these are when it comes to basically being ready to do that video, obviously having a camera or a phone is absolutely fine to get started. And you can also use, if you have an SLR digital camera, a lot of those have very good video as well. I have not used my SLR camera in months. I started with it, but I found that my phone did just as well when you're looking at videos online. Lighting, again, you just want to make sure, Thomas being, that he studied the arts of acting and all that, lighting, that's very important to him as well, is to make sure that you are lit up from the front. A little bit of light from the back or from the top gives it a little bit of a 3D effect as well. But don't be too concerned. As long as they can see you, if there's light behind you, that will cause kind of a halo effect and your face will be dark and people won't be able to see you. So always have some light in front of you, and that shall be good enough. Yeah.
So just to add, and Cynthia Lett, thank you for putting on the chat. She uses Glamcor lighting, which she said is amazing, easy to plug in, not expensive. So Glamcor lighting is really key. So I just want to show you. So I'm in one of the rooms at my daughter's home that you see me now. I'm pretty well lit. Now, if I go like this, I'm a little darker, and then if I go like that, you can't even see me. So it just goes to show you the importance of lighting. And John made a great point. Don't have a window behind you, because what will happen is the iris of the camera will close down and you'll appear as dark. And you don't have to go crazy. I too have something similar to what John is showing in the picture here. My background is I have a television degree from NYU, so I know the value of lighting and sound. His is from Walmart, mine's from Amazon. I think it maybe cost $70, and now they're coming out with these ring lights. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, and it's worth a little bit on that light, because it's just going to make all the difference in how you look professionally.
Absolutely. Sound is also very important when you're doing a video. If you sit way back from your camera, it's going to sound like you're in an echo chamber a lot of times. It can be as simple as using just the headphones that come with your cell phone. It's got a microphone right here. Plug in this to the cell phone, put this down right in front of you, and it will pick up your sound very well. I also have, I didn't bring it out, but I have a lavalier microphone that I think was $10 that you can actually clip just below the camera view on your lapel or on your shirt or something. And even if it's in the view, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
You see a lot of commentators on TV where you can see their lapel mics, but have something that's close to you, close to your camera. The only time I can't use something like that is when I'm using a gimbal, which is basically something that holds the phone as I move around. It holds the phone from jiggling. It keeps it steady. When you have something else hooked up to it, it doesn't balance it right. Other than that, always have something where you can get better sound. It just produces better video.
Yep. And I want to add, John, definitely that link for the lavalier mic I'm interested in. Whenever I get hired for a speaking gig, I tell them I want a lavalier mic. It's amazing the difference. I record most of my speaking gigs, and the difference between having a lavalier mic and just a handheld or ambient sound, lavalier makes it come so much cleaner. I also want to point out that Scott Kepley put into the chat that he's a lighting designer for television. That's great. I want to talk with you, Scott. So at the end, John and my emails are going to be up here because among other things, Scott, I have some people sometimes ask me for lighting designers because I direct a whole lot of video. So I want to get to know you, and I'm open to any tips. John?
I desire to have more better lighting at some point. What my point was here, though, that I really want to make clear is don't let that keep you from doing videos. Start with something basic like this, like I said, for $50, $60, and then something, Scott probably has some really high-end equipment that makes it a lot brighter, probably makes your complexion look a lot more natural. All those things is fine. I just don't want people to not start because they're so worried that they just have light, is what I'm saying. So that's a good thing. The next thing really that it comes down to is that your video, you want it to have compelling content. The first thing I love to tell people is be authentic. Don't try to fake people out. Just be yourself. If you mess up, sometimes it actually, I'll start a video over if it's a real big flub up. Yet most of the time, if I make a mistake or I say something wrong, I'll correct it, or I'll stop, make fun of myself or whatever, and keep going. But you want to be authentic because people love authentic other people, if you will. I don't know if you've ever watched videos online on YouTube or YouTube or Facebook or those kind of things. I tend to, when somebody is acting very fake or acting when it's not real and they're trying to describe the subject, I move on to the next one. I love the more authentic things. So I think most people do. Focus on your expertise. One of the things, I am a realtor. I've been a realtor for almost 16 years now. And we use a lot of video for our homes and things like that. One of the things that drive sales is when people take you or believe that you are the expert in your field. I think that my favorite saying is, my success in real estate is directly proportional to the number of people who, when they think of real estate, think of me. So when you do a video, the most compelling content needs to be your expertise. Again, don't be fake. talk about your expertise, where you shine, the things you're very good at, and be someone that people can count on. For instance, I might say in a video, even if you're not interested in selling your home today, if you'd like to get some tips on staging or tips on improvements that you can make to your house in order to get it ready to sell someday, call me. And those are the kind of things that help people understand that I am the expert in that field. I hope that makes sense.
So John, thank you, a couple of great points, and then I want to talk specifically about your experience so that others can learn from it. So when we had the first Business Breakfast series in March, Hannah Roberts was on our panel with regards to building a personal brand, and she built herself as the hot mess fitness mama, and she's very, very authentic. And I mean, more than I would choose to be. She's amazing. She's got an amazing following. So if you're thinking, oh my God, I don't want to show people my worst. Well, depending on what your line of work is, that's okay. Focusing on expertise. I teach people a lot in either my LinkedIn classes or through business coaching about authority marketing. And that starts with first defining your authority, what is your expertise, building your authority, marketing your authority, and then sustaining your authority. And I would invite you to get away from like salesy type messages, focus what I call value marketing. And there are what I call the 4 E's to value marketing. And that's creating marketing that is either educational, it's educational, it's enlightening, it's empowering, or it's entertaining. And though it may take longer to develop those connections, those relationships that will lead to sales, you will actually do better. And I'm an example of this. You'll do better when you lead with service and let the profits follow, because people are seeing the value in you as an expert. So John, can you just you've done some really interesting things on LinkedIn with video. Can you talk to us about just some of the different things that you focused on campaign-wise, subject matter expertise, lessons learned?
Yeah, one of my favorite is to put out things that have to do with great sales techniques. For instance, the reticular activator. Those of you who have ever seen that, I used the idea of the yellow Corvette, which was a very special thing to me. So a lot of people see things and hear things every day, but they don't rise to the level of consciousness. And so what I teach people when it comes to sales, for instance, is teach people what to listen for, what to look for. And that's turning on their reticular activator, which is part of the stem of the brain that is basically filtering out everything that you see, hear, and touch and smell and all that every day. So anyway, I love to do teachings like that to help people to where they are learning and something they can do. Real estate, when it comes to be authentic, humor is a huge part of my life. I love humor. I love especially dad jokes, slapstick kind of humor. And so I like to incorporate some of that into my videos as well. I recently put out a video where, toilet paper obviously has been a big issue with the whole COVID-19 thing. So I did a video recently where I said, is it really price, location, and condition? Isn't there something else that can help drive sales? And then all of a sudden I focused in on some toilet paper that was sitting on the steps of this home. And then every other scene in that video, there was toilet paper in it. I got to tell you, especially when it went down the slide that was in the back of the house, I got so many comments about that. That was
John, we want the link to this video. I've not seen this video. This sounds hysterical.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm making notes to these things. So
before we jump, thank you. And Carrie's on too. She's super organized. She's on my team. So before we get into CTA, I'm sorry, you go on. And then
I hope I answered your question. I focus on obviously real estate, helping sales, because I do want people to grow. I think my gift, my spiritual gift is encouragement. And so I'm always encouraging, and I like that to come through as well. So I try to do sales type videos. Humor, I love to put out that. And then of course, recently on Facebook, funny enough, my wife and I have been doing some karaoke videos as well. So we've been having some fun with different types of video. Some of it's for family and some of it is for business. I hope I answered your question.
And one of the things, John, is your authority. So you have your it's what you're known as. And John and I worked on this. And John is Charleston's real estate connector, connecting you to great real estate, interesting events, and other great people. Did I get that right?
Almost perfect.
Okay, so what is it exactly?
I am John Stroud, your real estate connector, connecting you with real estate, fun events, and other great people in the Charleston area.
Right. So that's what he's known as your real estate connector. So being known for something and that expertise so that other people can message it, and part of that can come through your video. So I'm working with a client now who is a holistic dentist, and we're going to start all her videos the same way. We're working on scripts, and they're going to all start the same way so that it gets into what John said, the reticular activator, which is part of the brain, and people are remembering who you are and what you're known for. Pam Middleton asked me to repeat the 4 E's that I created for value marketing, and they are: create videos that are educating or educational. The second E is they're empowering. The third is they're enlightening. So they're either educational, they're empowering, they're enlightening, or they're entertaining. And you can have more than one of the, you can have a video that is educational and enlightening. The whole idea is taking the focus off, oh, look at me and look how great I am, as opposed to, here's how I can help you. Let me share some content with you that will help to educate, empower, enlighten, or maybe entertain you. So hopefully I talked slow enough, Pam, but I didn't let us know. John, talk to us about a CTA and the importance of that.
Yeah, so at the end of your video, you always want to include a CTA, which is call to action. That could be something as simple as, hey, subscribe to my channel below if you're doing YouTube videos. Make sure you click the notification bell so you get the next videos that I put out there. Or it could be something where you're asking somebody to call you, somebody to email you, some kind of call to action to make sure that you're connecting with them. There are also tools, we won't go too far down this rabbit hole, but there are also tools where you can actually make that automatic to where at the end of the video, it takes you somewhere else. And we can talk about that at another time. But it is very important to have some sort of call to action to remind the watcher of the videos that you want to engage with them and continue to work with them, if you would. So I think my favorites are typically to say, if you need anything or any help, my email will be at the end of this video, and you're welcome to give me a shout. I'd love to have coffee with you. These are several other things that I do because I want to engage with people. I want them to feel that they can engage with me as well.
Sure. And one of my favorites is want to learn more? Let's have a conversation. Very simple, want to learn more. And the whole idea of a CTA I teach in my classes and to my clients is not only in videos, it goes in your elevator speech and it goes on your LinkedIn profile. So we've talked about 2 tips so far: choose the right equipment, and to also, yeah, thank you. Great, compelling content. And number 3 is use an editing tool. So John, what do you have to say about that?
Most people think that this is probably they think this is the hardest part. And actually, with a little bit of quick training, probably 15, 20 minutes, you can be a pretty good editor. And it hasn't taken me that long. I always say, if I can do it, I'm sure anybody can do it. I currently use a tool called WeVideo. I've also found several other tools online that help me create fun animations and those kind of things. WeVideo is an online tool which keeps all of my videos in the cloud until I download them, if you would. Also, most of computers come with, my Mac came with iMovie. iMovie is also very easy to use. I can't remember what the PC version is called, but if you have a PC, you have a movie editing tool. All of these are fairly easy to use with a little bit of tutorial, and you can go out on YouTube and watch a few videos to learn that. One of the things that I tell people also is one of the reasons I like WeVideo.com. Cynthia just said that she uses Canva. I've not used Canva to.
Really? Canva for editing? I didn't know Canva did editing.
Yeah, I know that you can make photos and create still things in Canva. I didn't know you could do editing in that. I never had researched it. But B-roll. So a lot of people say, well, what is B-roll? If you think about when a newscaster, for instance, is over to the side and all of a sudden something pops up in here, that is basically what they call B-roll. Or you're watching a video and all of a sudden a photo fills the entire screen, comes in and comes out. Those are all B-roll. And what happens is if you look, it's kind of hard to see on the screen probably, but in the editing software, there are different lines where you put the main video and then you put the B-roll over the top of it. Again, it is so easy. I don't want to get into the technical part of it now, but you can make things fade in, fade out. You can make things go across the screen. It's all very simple once you learn it, and that is B-roll. One of the reasons I like WeVideo is they have a ton of free B-roll. They have a ton of free audio sounds. You can, dogs barking, cats meowing, whatever. One of my favorite is the record scratch. When somebody says something, you go, like, what? That kind of stuff. All of that stuff is free on WeVideo, which makes it really fun, easy tool to use. And I can just drag and drop audio, drag and drop transitions and all that stuff in there. A good video, when you have two people talking, will have one talking and then they'll sort of fade out as the other person's coming in. Those are all just transitions, and it is very easy to do once you get used to these editing tools. Captions. There are two things about captions I wanted to say is, well, one, when I think of captions, most people think of things at the very bottom of the screen. So when you're watching a video, that's really important because a lot of people watch video, sadly enough, when they're at work or when they are maybe lying in bed and the other person's asleep. And it's easier to read what the person is saying at the bottom than to have the sound up and bother somebody or get in trouble at work. So captions are very important. The other reason I think it's important is sometimes people may have either an accent or they speak low or something, and it's easier to read the caption. So I think those are very important. The other thing about captions, and I use a lot of text in my videos where you may have the caption going on at the bottom, but I also have things that pop in and out of my videos that are basically the bullet points of what I'm speaking of at that moment. And to me, that's also a caption too, because people can be auditory learners. They can also be visual learners. And so I think when you have both, it really helps the learner to somebody who's watching your video to see logos and other things that help them remember and keep in mind what's going on. So captions are very important.
Yeah.
We can put a link in this video. There's a local company called Zubtitle that I use. It's not very expensive. I want to say I can do up to 10 videos for $19. It's a really great tool. YouTube also has a captioning tool, but I find it a little bit more clunky to use, so I prefer Zubtitle.
Sure. And if I can add some things, so I'm a Zubtitle guy as well. First, I like to support local entrepreneurs, and they're Charleston based. And I would not do a video without captions. I'm just letting you know. They really, really make a difference because a lot of times I've been in situations where I just cannot listen to a video. It's not appropriate, but I want to watch it and I want to see what they're saying. The only way I'm going to do that is caption. So I'll make sure that Carrie sends out the link for Zubtitle to check them out because they're awesome. John, I want to go specific to something you've been working on so people can relate. Many of you may know, if you don't, John and I are community organizers at 1 Million Cups along with an amazing team. And John is also one of the MCs. So along with Whitney McDuff, they're at the front of the house. This is an event that happens when we're not doing the COVID thing, every Wednesday at 9 to 10 a.m. at Frothy Beer Brewing. John and Whitney do this great video as far as, hey, what's coming up next? I'm just curious, John, how long does it take for you to create that for WeVideo so we have a frame of reference?
if the video is 2 minutes or less, which most of them are, you're talking 20 to 30 minutes at most. And that's adding all of the music, bringing the logos in and out, all of those things, adding the end verbiage to remind people where it is, what it is, all those things, about 20 minutes.
That's amazing. I mean, that's amazing because I watch these videos and they have a professional quality to it. So the fact that John gets it done in 20 to 30 minutes means that we can all do this. Cool. So let's go on to tip number 4, John.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Canonico just put in there Screencast-O-Matic. I'll have to look that one up. That's not one I've used, or InShot. So thank you for those. I'm definitely going to look at that. So, it's funny. I was working with Vatus for a while. Vatus is a call to action tool that I was talking about earlier, where you can add a call to action at the end of your video where it automatically takes you somewhere else. And I said to somebody, I wonder why more people aren't jumping on this, because it is such a cool tool. And somebody said to me, because they're not you. So what do you mean by that? They said, well, you don't have a lot of trouble getting in front of a camera. It doesn't bother you, but a lot of people do. And I respect that. I totally understand. It's not always easy for me either. I mess up, and I sometimes have to re-record things several times. Yet my thought process is, well, do you go, when you're on a sales call, are you not sitting in front of someone talking to them, using your scripts and your dialogues that you've learned to sell your service or your widget or whatever? And they say, well, yeah. And I say, well, then what's the difference between getting in front of someone and getting in front of a camera? So I know that it's a little different. I get it. But to overcome some nerves, we wanted to have a slide where we talked about this. One, you want to make sure that you're just thinking about this as having a conversation. Again, it's like the camera is the person that I'm standing there talking to. I'm having a conversation with that person. I'm just doing it through a camera. Hopefully all these Zoom conferences has made this a lot easier for people, and they've realized that it's not as hard as they think it is. So practice. You can definitely prepare. I actually will write out my scripts if I know my video is going to be longer than just a short 30-second, 1-minute video, where usually I can remember enough about it, or I can put a little sheet in front of me right below the camera space to remind me, so I'm not looking away at my words. It's so annoying when you watch a video and you see somebody reading something like this and they're talking to you. It's like, no, look at me, look at me. So I really like the idea of practicing. So just write out a script. Even if it's just a bullet pointed script like we're doing here, just practice those things. And typically it will come across as a very authentic, and it won't sound scripted, if you would. However, I do have another little secret. I do have a teleprompter tool that I will also put in the thing. I'm gonna put it up to you. See the little red icon? It's literally called teleprompter. When you click on that, you can put, hold on just a second. You can put all of your verbiage in, and it literally will rise as you're talking. It will rise right by the camera that the phone is facing you. So I've got the camera on a tripod. The words are going right here. I'm literally reading now. I've practiced it several times, so I'm making it very authentic, and I can literally read my script, and you have no idea that I have just read a script. It sounds like I'm just talking normally, just like I am right now. By the way, I'm not reading a script right now, but it does sound just like this. If you've watched any of my videos, pretty much every single one of them was done with teleprompter.
Sure, and this has been around for decades. Teleprompter, you may not realize, on most news and morning shows, they're reading through a teleprompter. They just practiced enough to make it look like they're not reading. So John showed me this tool. I plan on getting it, the app, just because it will, especially on a longer piece. And normally you want to keep your videos, especially if they're on social media, 2 minutes or less. In certain cases, it might make sense to do it, to make longer videos. And I'm creating a whole series around personal branding, and some of my individual episodes are 10 minutes long. There's no way I can remember all that. So teleprompting is key. Another tip that I want to point out is, what's great about building a script as well, and you usually will do this in a Google or Word doc, is then finding the places to put B-roll. So I do this with my team when, okay, we're making a point about log cabins. Let's have, I'm talking about log cabins. Let's have a picture on the side of me with log cabins. So being intentional to say, where does it make sense to have that added photo, that B-roll, that graphic? And we put it, we were very intentional when we're looking at the script.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can move B-roll back and forth. If you don't like where it is, you can move it back so that it starts at a certain period of time in your conversation. But that's what I love about all that. And if you, let's say you're speaking about going hiking, let's say that's your topic of the video, and you want to just have B-roll of as you're speaking, all of a sudden it goes away from you, and there's a woman or a man walking, and you can just see the bottom of their legs walking past a stream or something. All that stuff is easy to find. Like I said, especially on WeVideo, it's why I like it so much, because of how much free B-roll, video, pictures, audio, that kind of thing. So it's very easy to do.
Yeah,
the teleprompter tool helps you create the initial video. And then what I do is I upload that video into WeVideo and then add all the B-roll and all those, and then produce it at the end so that that video is now, I've got all of my verbiage, whatever, then upload it into Subtitle, create the captions at the bottom, and then release it as a full-on video. So it's it's not hard to do. If you do Subtitle, it is going to take you a little bit longer, obviously, because that's basically 3 steps: creating the video, producing it, then adding the subtitles. So you might want to talk more about maybe an hour to an hour and a half per video. But still, if that video creates one lead, one sales call that gets you a client or a customer, it's well worth it to me.
Sure. And Cynthia's using teleprompter tools. She says it's awesome. Pam Milton said she wished she had used it. So we'll be sending out information on that app as well. I've seen it. I think it's a great one. So our fifth and
quick before we go, the paid version, I want to say, is either $9.99 or $19.99. That allows you to go longer, and also you can have as many as you want. The unpaid the free version of teleprompter only allows you a certain length, and also only one at a time, so you have to keep erasing it, which I thought for the amount of money that I've spent to create video, this is the only thing, and obviously I needed one of these anyway to be able to communicate. That's the only thing that was expensive. Everything else I have, less than $200.
And John, what is the cost on the WeVideo subscription?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot to add that. That was about 200. I want to say it was 207 for the year.
But you could do it monthly as well, correct?
You can do it monthly. Yeah, it's in the $30 range, or $25, $30, something like that. But I paid for the year. It made more sense to me.
Sure. Great. So we'll talk about tip number 5.
Yeah, finding that right audience, because there's a lot of question. Oh, there it is. You can do it for $7.99 a month. There you go. Thank you, Cynthia. Love it. Love having a team behind you.
Yeah, it's great.
Social media, I'm not a guru on social media. I know Thomas is as an expert on LinkedIn. And I think what you want to do is make sure that you target your peeps. And Thomas always says when he's given a talk is figure out where your peeps are and then talk to them.
Yeah. So what I specifically say is, everyone, if you're on this webinar, we're going to imagine that you are interested in creating videos and doing some type of sales and marketing, just not the old way of sales. Don't be salesy. So I always say to my clients, we get to ask ourselves these 3 questions. If you want to write it down. 1, who are my peeps? Very, very important. Who are my peeps? You cannot be friends with everyone. Who are my people? Who's my target audience, my avatars? It's very, very important to know who your peeps are. The second thing is, where do I find them? So 1, who are my peeps? 2, where do I find them? And 3, what do I say to them? Who are my peeps? Where do I find them? What do I say to them? Because in today's day and age, with all the noise out there, The riches are in the niches. So focusing on the right social media and where your audience is. So for me, most of what I coach is business coaching. So I help people start a business or grow a business. A lot of people come to me because they're stuck. They're saying, I'm not getting the growth I want in my business. And I think it's because I have weak branding and messaging. So I work with them on that. Well, that's going to be, depending on the business, we're definitely going to be targeting LinkedIn for that. Possibly Facebook if they have what are called a B2C or business to consumer. Instagram is emerging, especially for a female audience of 25 to 40 or 45. So you want to think ahead of time. And a great thing to establish is a YouTube channel. So John's going to talk about that.
Well, yeah, and everything has a different audience. I was talking with a social media person the other day, and I said, Twitter's not my thing. And she said, the thing about Twitter is that it has to be right now. In other words, people are tweeting, but if you go back an hour later, it's not as relevant. So she said that she used to help somebody and they would tweet while they were at a sports event, but later on it wasn't as important. I've decided that's not my peeps right now. And Instagram, obviously, it's a closed platform, so I can't create a video and upload it to Instagram. So you have to create videos, short videos in Instagram. And I have more fun with that. I'll do things with Instagram where I'm in a house or something like that. I haven't been doing it lately because I haven't been able to be in as many houses with COVID, but that's, I digress. Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn for sure are where my peeps are. And LinkedIn is more to create the professional image and create my audience of referral partners, if you would, and communicate with them as how I can help them refer business. And then Facebook is probably a little bit more of the sales, where I'm looking for those customers, people to see my videos and say, wow, that's the kind of person I want to work with. So, and then obviously you want to tag strategically. Don't over tag, but tag people when the video is something you believe that they will want to see, that's important to them. Tag them so that especially if you're hoping that they will share your video, there's nothing more pleasing when you see that your video has been shared several times. That means somebody has really liked it and said, I think this content is valuable enough that somebody else needs to see it as well, part of their sphere. And that's been awesome. And also tagging not only people, but doing the hashtags to where, for instance, on LinkedIn, if it's a real estate video, especially something where I'm helping people understand how I can help support their real estate need, and I'll put hashtag real estate, hashtag leadership. I've trended in both, which is wonderful. And trending meaning that there's enough people that are watching it and it's going into enough feeds and people are sharing it that it becomes a trending video. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what that means. But it's wonderful when you see your video is trending. That's a great thing.
Yeah, and it's important to do this strategically. I'll give you a very specific example. So later on today, I'm doing a talk with my wife, Judy, who's a psychotherapist, and we're doing it for the Charleston Metro Chamber of Commerce on working successfully from home, how to combine family with career, which can be really challenging. It's 11 a.m. today, in case any of you are looking for it. Now, what I did is I tagged, you can tag up to 40 people on LinkedIn. I tagged folks that were either my supporters, like John Stroud, or folks that I knew would be interested in this to get conversations going. Now, juxtapose that with a client of mine, Dr. Nick Barnes. He owns Charleston Chiropractic. So he's just starting to get into videos. He does a weekly stretch video and a weekly strength video. And he's amazing on camera. And what we're pegging him as is Dr. Nick, the chiropractor. So everything, hey, it's Dr. Nick, the chiropractor. He just created this great video and he didn't use as much tagging. So maybe he got a couple hundred views, where the post that I did about this webinar coming up on successfully working from home has over 3,000 views. It has 9 or 10 shares. It has dozens and dozens and dozens of comments and conversations going on. So you don't want to just tag someone without their permission. You want to be thinking ahead of time. Who are my supporters, my bird dogs, the people that champion me, asking them for permission. Hey, I'm putting this up. I'd appreciate a like. Most importantly, especially on LinkedIn, comments are very, very important on LinkedIn. LinkedIn wants to get conversations going. So, and as far as hashtags, everything I put out on LinkedIn has hashtag Ask Thomas Heath, ASK Thomas Heath. So if you ever want to find any of the stuff that I'm doing, just put in the search bar hashtag Ask Thomas Heath. Everything will come up. You want to have your own hashtag. So it could be hashtag John Stroud. It could be whatever it might be. Typically a name is great, or the name of your company. And then depending on the subject matter, it could be hashtag, I'll put hashtag personal branding, hashtag LinkedIn expert. That really makes a difference, especially when it gets into trending. And what we mean by trending is that all of a sudden it's gone out to the masses. I'm using this in air quotes. It's gone a little bit viral. It's got a little bit viral. So other people throughout the country and the world are seeing it. So don't ignore your tags. And what's your final point, John, on finding the right audience?
Let's see if I can get the thing to move. There it is. So one other thing I wanted to say about tagging strategically, if you tag people on every single video that you do, it's going to become washed. They're going to stop watching your videos.
Don't do that.
Don't do it to everyone. Be strategic. And also, I wanted to say, when somebody comments, thank them for their comment, respond to their comment. That conversation, it is amazing how that gets that back and forth working and creates leads. So that's important. Keywords in SEO, all I can tell you is, especially when it comes to YouTube, when you're putting these videos on YouTube, there's a whole area down at the bottom where you can put descriptions. Make sure that you're looking, there are tools where you can figure out what keywords people are looking for. For instance, if I'm doing a video about Charleston real estate, the keywords may not be Charleston real estate. They may be homes in Charleston. That may be, or homes for sale in Charleston. Find out what those keywords are. Put those in your descriptions. Also, a lot of links help a lot as well, to where you, so you can also say in your video, and by the way, what I just talked about, there will be a link in the description below. Please subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Those kind of things, all those links, because obviously, as Thomas said, YouTube is owned by Google. That helps your SEO. There is a realtor in the Savannah area who moved to Savannah, knew no one, had a very successful business somewhere else, but knew no one in Savannah, moved with her husband. Within 6 months, using only video, which was basically free except for the minimal equipment that she bought, was creating the equivalent of over $100,000 a year in business. And she did that within 6 months using video. All of it had to do a lot with, her videos were fun, creative, silly and goofy sometimes, but authentic. And she used keywords in SEO to make sure that Google was putting her videos at the top of the organic searches, and leads were coming in like that. So it's a great way to drive leads to your websites. Make sure obviously that you have wherever your lead capture, which is maybe your CRM, your website, whatever you use to capture leads, make sure all that is strategically in there as well. So, and with that, I think we're at the Q&A stage.
Great. In fact, we got one. So Pam Middleton said, if you interact with someone during a live video, should you go back and give a written response after the live? That's actually a great question. So I'll take a stab at that. I don't think there are any shoulds per se, Pam. What I would say is, depending on the interaction, it can't hurt. Absolutely, if someone is showing initiative and expressing interest to you, what I would do is, first of all, say, hey, thanks for coming on the webinar, participating in my talk. Appreciate your question on such and such. Want to make sure that you got the answer. So here it is again. Is there anything else I can do to support you? So I think that it can't hurt. A lot of it's going to depend on the circumstances. I think one of the keys is doing what John and I are doing now, is to make sure recognizing everyone that holds up their hand, asks a question, that you address it. I think that's really important to be doing that. And I want to, and if that didn't answer your question, Pam, go back in and ask it again. I want to go back to one other point John said about when people comment comment on your post, don't do a cut and paste and say, thank you for your comment. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for, that's the worst thing you can do. It's going to take you a little bit extra. Just put in, hey, Bob, really appreciate you joining the conversation. That's a good point you made. And then get some other things going and saying, well, what would you say would be a great tip for someone looking to create videos? So it's all about the conversations, because the conversations are how the connections are going to be made authentically.
That's right. People work with those they know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. When you're having a conversation with them, you're answering their questions. My thought process on that question asked from Pam, it doesn't cost you anything to have that conversation afterwards. I absolutely would, if it's feasible, and say to somebody, hey, that's a great question. I hope I've answered it, but if you want to talk offline, I'm more than happy to have that conversation phone or over a cup of coffee. So because I think people love to be heard, and when they know that someone cared enough to spend the time with them, I just think it builds the relationship even better. So that would be my 2 cents with that. I hope that answered your question as well.
Sure. And
Bob just asked, what is SEO? Search engine optimization. And I'm not going to go into any detail because I'm not a techie guy, but basically it has to do with the algorithms that Google or these search engines put out there. They're looking for certain keywords, links to other websites. So if your website actually has more links to other websites, the idea being the more you can keep somebody within your website so that they don't find what they're looking for, so they move on to the next one. The more your website is optimized to keep somebody in it, Google sees that. They have these algorithms that are constantly looking at your website. And they change it all the time too. My brother built a website many years ago for baby, it was an online baby and toddler clothing website, and he was phenomenal at SEO. He could not keep up with it. It was constantly changing. So there are specialists. I tend to just talk with them and I hire people a lot of times when it comes to that. So if you have any questions about why maybe your website's not getting as many people, check with an SEO specialist. And I have somebody, I'm sure Thomas does as well. But that's search engine optimization.
Sure. And John made a great point. Think how the searcher is going to think. Instead of saying Charleston real estate, say buying a home in Charleston. Think like how the searcher is going to think. Cynthia said, have you used Zoom to make videos other than webinars and meetings? I haven't. John?
Yes. So one of the videos that I was starting was Charleston Connections, where I'm going to be sitting with, and some of you on this video, I have a feeling we'll be sitting down at some point. First one I did was with Thomas. I've done one with Lisa. The one with Thomas was in person, but with all the COVID going on, Lisa and I did one over a Zoom conference. I basically had our pictures side by side, and I then, there's a button at the bottom. You click record. We recorded the video. I then produced it in WeVideo, added the beginnings and the ends and all those pieces in between, and then put it out there. So yes, have been. I've already spoken with another person. I'll be doing another one of those either later today or early tomorrow. My goal is to put out 1 a week of basically, hey, Charleston, this is someone in Charleston that you need to meet, that you deserve to meet. And so I'm gonna continue to do those once a week so that we have at least 52 people per year that people in Charleston will get to know through a video. So I hope that, in Middleton, during my Facebook Live, people will come on and say hi to me and I will respond live, but wondered if it's advisable to reply and acknowledge their greeting in writing also.
Yeah, we answer that.
Yeah, there's a really good musician that does a lot of live stuff right now with everything going on. And even when he's playing his piano, he'll say, thank you, John, appreciate the comment, those kind of things. I think that's really great because you keep people on your live conversation by acknowledging them. So I love that he does that. I don't do a ton of live, so it's not something that I would emulate his style, if you would. I wish I could play piano like he does, but I digress. I think it's great to acknowledge, but he's playing piano, so he can't type. What he does, though, sometimes is he will have his daughter, he calls her the producer. He'll say, great question, John. I'll have my producer, and as he's playing piano, he's talking. She will then type in the answer. So if you have somebody that can help you with that, that's a good way to do it.
Sure. Great. So we have time for one more question. And again, if we don't get to everything, we have our emails are here. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. Also, don't hesitate to give some feedback to the Harbor Club on whether this was of value or not. If you can put that into the chat, if there's anything that you want us to improve upon. We have Steve Kelly here. Thanks for the great session. See you all soon at 22 West Edge. Yes, I would love that from your lips, from your typing fingers to God's ears, Steve. So.
There's a question in there, Thomas. There's one last question. Denise says, any idea how far Google likes and reviews go? I mean, I don't remember the exact statistic, yet I do know that a very high majority of people always go to reviews before they engage with a service provider or a product. And I'm sure all of us can say, yes, I mean, I do. When I'm looking up products that I don't know, like the ring that I bought here, I researched it to see what other people were saying about it. And as long as it's got mostly decent reviews and it's not terribly expensive, I will buy it. I think they're very important. I don't remember the exact statistic, but I'm sure you can Google it.
Yeah, it is important. And listen, the key thing is we're growing to. I don't have everything great with SEO yet or with Google reviews. I'm working on that with my team. It does play a role though, so that's a really great question because Google kind of rules the world. So Robin Roll, awesome presentation. Oh, thank you, Robin. We appreciate that. Missy, great job, guys. Betty, thank you.
To the Harbor Club for doing this. I think this is a wonderful idea. There are a lot of topics that people are interested in, and I'm blown away that we had, I think, close to 27 people. So thank you for coming. Would love to have a cup of coffee with you, even if it's via Zoom, to talk more offline. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Yeah, same here. And I'm going to be taking a little break in May from moderating. I got to focus on my family, but I'm really hoping the first Thursday in June to be back live at 22 West Edge to moderate in person our topic there. We really appreciate you all. John, thank you for a great job and some great information. And everyone just stay safe, stay positive. And
real quick, if you would, Pam Middleton asked if you could send her the name of the holistic dentist that you referred to earlier. So send that to Pam if you would.
Yeah, I will. I will get that to you. So Carrie, help me remember that. Great. So
get you those links, Thomas.
Yeah, that's great. So we'll follow up with y'all. Thank you so much for attending. And again, stay safe. Make it a positive day. Take care, everyone.
See ya. Bye-bye.